Alan Becker is a YouTube animator who has two main ongoing series on his channel, Animator VS Animation and Animation vs Minecraft. And in today's video, we are going to be looking at Animator vs Animation. Let's start with the very first episode. So Alan Becker creates a stick figure called Victim to torment them, basically. The stick figure breaks free and starts to fight back. Both of them start having a battle and even start creating weapons to fight each other. After some back and forth, the stick figure even makes copies of himself, but Alan Becker is barely able to press the X and shut down the program. On to episode 2, he creates another stick figure, but he calls it the Chosen One instead. And because he called him this, the stick figure gets superpowers. The Chosen One actually manages to escape the app and starts messing around on the desktop. He even starts fighting other apps like the Firefox. Meanwhile, Alan is panicking and tries talking to someone named Programmer 021. But just as Alan is about to get an answer about how to defeat the Chosen One, well, there goes that plan. Alan then opens up an antivirus which detects the Chosen One as a virus, and it starts attacking him. And after a battle, the Chosen One gets captured, and now has to work for Alan Becker burning Papa Bads. On to episode 3, we still see the Chosen One being a slave, but the Chosen One starts seeing ads about stick figure slavery, and decides enough is enough. The Chosen One manages to grab Alan Becker's cursor and free himself. Alan Becker then asks Clippy for some help, and both of them battle the Chosen One. However, just as it seems they're about to win, it's simply not working. While Clippy and the Chosen One fight, Alan decides to make a brand new stick figure called the Dark Lord, and Alan programs him to destroy the Chosen One. Anyways, the Chosen One finishes off Clippy, but now he has the Dark Lord to deal with. They start battling and eventually make their way to the desktop, where the Dark Lord gets other apps to join the fight. But eventually, the Dark Lord is trapped in Minesweeper, where he has to be careful and try to escape. While this is happening, the Chosen One is dealing with the other apps and eventually gets rid of them all, ending with him throwing Firefox into the Minesweeper board, blowing it up. But just when it seems the Chosen One is going to kill the Dark Lord, they actually decide to team up instead, and they team up against Alan Becker. Now a crazy final battle commences, leading to them creating a black hole thingy which kind of blows up, causing the computer screen to literally crack and cause a fatal error. It completely terminated the computer. In episode 4, we see Alan talking to a friend about what happened in the last video, and that Alan now has a brand new computer. At the same time, he's animating this orange stick figure right here, but when Alan leaves the room, the stick figure comes to life. Alan is busy doing the laundry, so the stick figure starts exploring around Alan's desktop, eventually finding a website called www.sticksfight.com, where we get to meet Blue, Green, Red, and Yellow. Orange seems freaked out about their fighting at first, but eventually toughens up and wants to go at it. He breaks into the box ready to fight, but the others realize that they are now free. Orange shows them the way out, and they start exploring around Alan's computer. But then Alan gets back. He immediately starts deleting the stick figures one by one until it's just Orange left. And interestingly, when Alan goes to Orange's name, it says the second coming.exe, aka the Chosen One's return. Alan tries to delete the second coming, but the program is too resistant, with the second coming saying, "You ended my friends, now I will end you." The second coming then starts going on Facebook and starts saying awful stuff as Alan to try and break up his friendships. Meanwhile, Alan is trying to clear up the damage. The second coming then makes his way to Alan's phone and starts running around on there before eventually making his way back to the PC. He then traps Alan's cursor and literally destroys it. But with some quick thinking, Alan goes to the settings and gets a brand new one. But while he was doing that, the second coming was creating some figures of his own, which also start messing around the computer. Alan goes to delete them, but then pauses. These creations by the second coming remind him of the stuff that he drew, and Alan sees just how talented the second coming is. But then one of them grabs Alan's cursor and starts beating it, which causes Alan to freak out and then quickly delete all of them. He finally captures the second coming and starts to talk to him, which is something Alan didn't even know they could do until just now. Alan decides to make a deal with the second coming, saying he will free him if he helps animate with him and not destroy his computer. The second coming says no, that you killed his friends, but then Alan refreshes www.sticksfight.com and brings back his friends, who still even seem to have their old memory. The second coming then accepts the deal, and 5 months later, they are both happily animating together. And when they decide to go on break, break, the Second Coming hangs out with his friends. In episode 5, we see Alan and the Second Coming working on an animation. But after a bit of work, they realize the computer is overheating. They start checking around and quickly find the issue. There's a virus. They try deleting it, but to no avail. Alan then gives the Second Coming a hammer, which he uses to beat the crud out of the app, which, by the way, reminds me that you should smash that subscribe button. Anyway, the Second Coming beat the crud out of the app, which causes it to crack, releasing this virus character. Alan and the Second Coming try and battle it, but it is simply too powerful. The Second Coming, who from now on I'm just gonna call Orange, then gets his friends to help out. Virus then appears and lunges for an attack, but Alan helps out just in the nick of time. However, the virus then deletes Alan's cursor from existence. But just like the previous episode, Alan goes to the settings to bring back his cursor, but the virus deletes that too. Now all Alan can do is sit and watch as the stick figures battle for their life, and this virus is simply too powerful, trapping the stick figures and web, including Orange. And just as the virus is about to kill him, an explosion occurs and out comes the Chosen One. He's back. The Virobot and the Chosen One then lunge into battle and to be continued. In episode 6, we get to see this battle between the Chosen One and Virobot. Virobot even lands some damaging hits, but the Chosen One is simply too powerful to be deleted from existence. They then battle some more before Virobot goes into the toolbar and starts controlling everything, even creating himself out of the apps. It's really cool. The Chosen One takes some hits before doing some sort of antivirus magic and starts beating the crud out of Virobot, eventually terminating him once and for all. The other stick figures are insanely impressed. The Chosen One then decides to create a portal out of the Wi-Fi symbol, but before he jumps in, the Chosen One and Alan nod to each other, and then the Chosen One jumps into it. The others are fascinated by it and decide YOLO and jump in. Now let's get into episode 7, titled The Flashback, which right off the gate is exactly what happens at the start. We see 2011. This is when episode 3 is taking place. Just as a final explosion is happening, we see the Chosen One and the Dark Lord escape through the internet right before the blue screen of death. The Chosen One and the Dark Lord then both create havoc throughout the internet for the next 8 years, even attacking the website Newgrounds. But the Chosen One seems to start having second thoughts. Then we finally get to the present day, 2019, and we see the Chosen One enter a room where the Dark Lord is creating Virobot. The Dark Lord happily shows it off to the Chosen One and then shows what the spike can do. But the Chosen One starts imagining a future where the Dark Lord uses it for terror. And yeah, the Chosen One's pretty concerned. The Dark Lord knows exactly who to test it on. But just before he can fire the virus, the Chosen One steps in and stops him. They then have a short battle, but eventually the Dark Lord hits the button and fires Virobot 2000. And the Chosen One finally realizes its destination, Alan's PC. The Chosen One goes after it, but is locked out. We now cut to episode 5, where Virobot 2000 first makes its appearance. The Chosen One finally breaks through the barrier and is on his way to Alan's PC. Virobot now has everyone trapped, but just before he can reach the Second Coming, the Chosen One arrives and saves the day, and we all know what happens next. Now, post episode 6, we see the Second Coming and his friends follow the Chosen One. Yes, I gave up calling him Orange and I'm now calling him the Second Coming again. Yeah, let's just move on to episode 8. We see the Chosen One and the rest fall into this world right here, which is unofficially known as the outernet. The Chosen One attacks the Dark Lord and their fight scene is insane. Just look at it. The Second Coming and the gang enter the Dark Lord's little shack and start to explore. They see a bunch more Virobots and then accidentally open these doors right here, which the Chosen One and the Dark Lord actually fly through. These portals lead to other parts of the internet, and the Chosen One and the Dark Lord continue to battle before eventually making their way back. The Dark Lord eventually temporarily defeats the Chosen One and makes his way back to the shed thingy. And while the rest hide, the Dark Lord grabs this wristband right here, which gives him even more power. The Dark Lord and the Chosen One then continue to battle, while back in the shed, Yellow uses the Dark Lord's console to start talking to Alan Becker. And Yellow then brings Alan's cursor into the outernet. Now it's a 1v2, the Dark Lord versus the Chosen One and Alan. The Dark Lord then releases the Virobots to aid him in battle, eventually temporarily kicking Alan from the outernet. The Virobots then hold the Chosen One down, but just before the Dark Lord takes the kill, the Second Coming and the rest jump in to protect him. Fred goes in for an attack, attack, but the Dark Lord murders him with ease. One by one, the Dark Lord kills the Second Coming's friends right in front of him, before eventually attacking the Second Coming himself. But just like how the Chosen One can't die so easily, the Second Coming isn't going down so easily either, although he is heavily damaged. The Dark Lord then opens the portals back up and starts sending the Virobots to rage across the internet. But suddenly, the Second Coming heals himself and wipes the Virobots out. A legendary battle commences between him and the Dark Lord, eventually leading to the Second Coming's victory. The Second Coming even brings his friends back, and then blacks out for a bit. After he wakes back up, the Second Coming and his friends leave the outernet on Alan's cursor. Let's jump into episode 9. The episode starts with showing the Chosen One being wanted in the outernet with a reward. We then see the Chosen One being chased by these 4 guys right here, aka the Mercenaries. But hey, even while being chased, the Chosen One still has time to help civilians along the way. The Mercenaries continue to shoot at the Chosen One with these projectiles, which make things kinda glitchy. The Chosen One is flying through the internet and finds himself back at where the battle in the previous episode took place. He's reminded of the Second Coming and decides to head back for Alan's PC for help. But just then, one of the Mercenaries lands a hit on the Chosen One. A short battle ensues and the Chosen One continues to take some hits, but it doesn't stop him, and eventually he makes his way back to the portal at the top. Back at Alan's house, we see the stick figures having a friendly battle, and even Alan himself joins the little war. The Second Coming grabs a pencil, creates some weapons, and yeah, it's just like old times. Alan then wins the little battle, but then the Chosen One arrives. He tries to explain what happened to the Second Coming and eventually drags him back to the outernet with the rest of the gang following. The two fly to a forest area with the Mercenaries not far behind them. Meanwhile, the rest of the color gang fall into the water. Anyways, while the Mercenaries are looking around, the Chosen One tries to get the Second Coming to battle them for him. It doesn't really work out that well, and the Chosen One tries to flee the scene with the Second Coming, but is shot down. The Second Coming, however, has the pencil from earlier and uses it to create some animals to attack the Mercenaries. Short fourth wall break here, but it's really cool how Alan made each of the Mercenaries completely unique with their own styles. Eventually, the Second Coming is surrounded, but before they can attack, the Mercenary with glasses, aka Agent, orders them to stop so he can finish the Second Coming off himself. They have a battle while the rest hold down the Chosen One, but this epic battle doesn't last long, as in the end, Agent wins, pausing the Second Coming. The Chosen One breaks free from the others and tries to help, but is also paused. Meanwhile, yellow, red, green, and blue finally arrive at the scene, but they're too late, only getting a glance of this rocket symbol. We then see this facility right here where the Second Coming is put in jail, and the pencil is confiscated. They then place the Chosen One in this white cube thingy, and the Mercenaries then confront this mysterious character with the wanted paper, this character being Victim. In episode 10, the episode starts with red, yellow, green, and blue traveling through the forest as they search for this rocket symbol. They eventually find the town and start asking around, although no one seems to know what they are talking about. Finally, they do find the rocket symbol on a truck and hop in the back. The driver comes back and off they go. Cut to Rocket Corp and we see the workers testing out the pencil. They're trying to replicate the Second Coming, but to no avail. They eventually take the Second Coming from his prison and guide him to the room. As they're leaving, the Mercenaries and Victim walks in. Victim then enters the box that the Chosen One is in, and the Agent unpauses him. The Chosen One tries to escape, but every move he uses, the Agent turns his power down. Victim then starts attacking the Chosen One, but it's not really working that well. That is until Agent starts buffing Victim from his strength to even his speed. And yeah, there's a lot that happens in this fight scene. The Chosen One is in a 1v2 against Victim and the Agent. The Chosen One keeps finding ways around their attacks, but the 1v2 is simply too much for him. We then cut back to the Second Coming and the Rocket Corp workers trapping him in a box with the pencil, forcing him to show them how to use it. The Second Coming picks up the pencil and creates an eel, which wreaks havoc before eventually being erased by a worker. The episode then cuts back to Victim and the Chosen One, where the Chosen One is being interrogated. It seems that Victim is trying to get information on Alan's cursor, or I guess Alan Becker himself, but the Chosen One will not budge. They then go with plan B, placing a memory scanner on his head, and they start rewinding his POV. After some rewinding, they see the battle where the Second Coming was attacking the Dark Lord. This is also when the workers put the Second Coming back in his cell, and he sees himself on the screen and how powerful he was. Apparently, the Second Coming didn't even know he had these powers. They continue to rewind and get to when Alan's cursor was being implemented into the outernet, and they see who is responsible for that: Yellow. They then place him on a wanted poster before eventually realizing on the security camera that they came right to them. The Agent easily knocks them out and Yellow is dragged away, and the episode ends with Victim burning an image of Alan's cursor. Now we jump in to episode 11. At the start start, we see episode 1 all the way back in 2006. We see Victim being created and watch Alan and Victim battle. We all know how it ends. Alan terminates the program. But what we didn't know is that this was just the beginning. On another day, he creates Victim again, and Victim still seems to retain his memory from the previous creation. Alan then messes around with him again before eventually deleting him. And this process happens over and over and over again. Days upon weeks upon months of torment. Before one day in 2007, Alan creates Victim but has to leave his laptop temporarily. He traps Victim in a box and leaves. However, Victim escapes. He leaves the app and creates a rocket which lets him escape Alan's laptop as he travels through the internet. He bounces around all over the place before eventually landing on someone else's computer, where someone is creating this character right here whose name is Mitzi. She then submits her little animation of Mitzi to Newgrounds, and it also pushes Victim along for the ride. We then see Newgrounds and a bunch of animations being uploaded. Basically, whenever an animation is uploaded onto Newgrounds, the character from the animation travels as this green light source thingy to the outernet where they spawn in. Anyways, back to Victim, he travels past Newgrounds and eventually hits the outernet, which not only causes him to turn gray, but literally links the outernet to the rest of the internet. On his way down, he hits a windmill before eventually crashing onto land. And this is when we see Mitzi spawn on the outernet. She then meets Victim, but not before long, the cursor arrives. And not just one, but a whole army, causing Victim to freak out. But then the sun shines through, and it wasn't cursors at all, but other people from a nearby village. Victim then sees the windmill that he accidentally destroyed and starts creating pieces to help rebuild it. The town is impressed by his skills, and eventually Mitzi and Victim finish the windmill. We then start seeing a flashback of Mitzi and Victim together. However, Victim is still tormented by the cursor. But one day, while looking at the windmill, Mitzi gets an idea. They start a small business where they repair and fix stuff, and thus Rocket Corp is born. Rocket Corp grows more and more successful, and we even see Agent join the team. Victim even starts to ignore the torment that Alan had given him, focusing on the present and the future. In 2011, they celebrate 4 years, but the happy moment is then ripped away as Mitzi, along with a bunch of others like Agent, start vanishing. We cut to Newgrounds and see that the place is under attack, and that this destruction is causing the characters to be ripped from the outernet and brought to Newgrounds. The place is under fire and people are scrambling in terror. Mitzi then gets trapped under some rubble. The Agent sees this and tries to help out, but it was the Chosen One and the Dark Lord that caused all this violence. This was when they were wreaking havoc on the internet, shown all the way back in episode 7, presumably before the Chosen One starts to have some second thoughts about all this chaos. Cut back to episode 11, Agent then escapes through a portal back to the outernet and makes his way back to Rocket Corp. Victim confronts him and then puts a memory scanner on him. He rewinds to the Newgrounds fight and watches as Mitzi dies in front of him by the hands of the Chosen One. We then cut to 2018, where Victim is shown footage by Agent of a Rocket Corp worker spying on a battle taking place. And this footage shows the Chosen One and Alan working together. Victim then shows how obsessed he was with finding Alan Becker, ending with this shot right here. And that was the last episode. Yup, Animator VS Animation is a ongoing series. The series seems to be going indefinitely and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight, so I couldn't really wait to make this recap. This video simply recaps the current episodes that are out. But hey, in this Q&A live stream right here, it is mentioned that episode 12 will probably be coming out this summer, and that even episode 13 is in the works. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this recap. Please subscribe to help support my channel, and maybe check out this video recapping Shorts Wars, which is a series on YouTube that has actually ended. Well, there may or may not be a fan-made season 4 currently in the works.